Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. A little bit of a Middlesbrough transfer update for you because it is all going on at the moment as we head into the weekend. A couple of deals looking very, very close indeed, and potentially an outgoing as well, which is very interesting as well. Before I go into that, I really appreciate the support that I've had on the channel so far. It's been really great to see some of you getting stuck into the Middlesbrough content that I've been putting out. If you are enjoying what you're watching, then please do like this video. Please do subscribe, and any suggestions of things that you would like me to talk about moving forward, I'll be happy to get stuck into them and see what we can do to make sure that I'm offering something that you're enjoying and that you're happy to spend your precious time watching. So straight to it with the Middlesbrough transfer news. One deal is looking very, very close indeed, and that's the other deal to sign Lukas Engel from Silkeborg. He's a Danish player. He's a 24-year-old left back. And Middlesbrough look like they're very, very close to getting this one confirmed and actually announced, probably going into the weekend. It's reports in Denmark saying that the fee is going to be worth around about £1.3 million. He comes in and he fills that left back spot, which is desperately needed to be filled. Obviously, after losing Ryan Giles at the end of last season. He left the club. He went back to Wolves, who have then sold him on to newly promoted Luton Town, and he'll be getting having his first game in the Premier League this weekend as Luton take on Brighton. But obviously his move to the Premier League left Middlesbrough with a massive gap in their team, and although Hayden Coulson tried his heart out last weekend against Millwall, it's a position that we've desperately needed to fill, and it looks like it's one that's going to be happening very, very soon. Michael Carrick was asked about the player in his press conference, and it's always a telltale sign when a deal is that close when a manager is actually willing to speak about a transfer target. So when he was asked about it, Michael Carrick said, "I think it's pretty obvious that things are progressing with Lukas. It's always difficult when it's not quite over the line, but it's getting a little bit closer, and we're hopeful that at some point soon that will get done." Reports yesterday had been suggesting that he was due to undergo a medical yesterday, which was Thursday. So that means that, assuming that that's all gone well, there's been no reports to suggest that it hasn't. You'd imagine that one's going to get announced fairly imminently. It could get announced on Friday. It could get announced over the weekend. I wouldn't have thought that he'll be involved for Saturday's game against Coventry. It's going to be far too late for that in terms of settling in and also in terms of getting him registered. But he should be available for next week, and that'll be great news to get a new left back in and fill that position within the team. Last season for Silkeborg, he was very much a productive player from left back, as well as doing well defensively. He got 10 assists and 1 goal in 35 games for the Danish top flight side, and so that's very much the sort of player that we're looking to get in, someone to kind of fill the gap of that creative void that's been left by Ryan Giles. Obviously, after he's got 11 assists for Middlesbrough last season, it's definitely a position that needs filled, and we need to get some of those assists spread around the team a little bit more, and for him to do that and to have a track record of providing quality balls in for the strikers from that left-hand side is going to be a really big boost. One player who looks like he may not be on the receiving end of those crosses coming in from the left side is Chuba Akpom. There's been a couple of really interesting updates with regards to him over the course of this week. Sky Sports were reporting that he's unlikely to sign a new contract with Middlesbrough, which is shocking considering how much he's stalled so far. I don't think many people will be that surprised by that update, but it does sound like he's unlikely to sign that new contract. They're also reporting that Middlesbrough are valuing the player at £15 million and won't sell him until a replacement's been signed. So the Dutch giants Ajax have been linked with a move, although as I understand it, there's been no offer made by them. But there has been an offer from French club Lens, who had an offer worth around about £9 million rejected for the player, according to French publication L'Equipe. So that was around about £8 million up front and £1 million in add-ons. So obviously that's around about £6 million short of Middlesbrough's £15 million valuation, and so that's simply not high enough for Middlesbrough to consider selling a player who was so important to the club last season. Contributed 29 goals, was the Championship Player of the Year. So there's no chance that Middlesbrough are going to sell him for £9 million. But I guess the tricky part with that is that as the summer transfer window rumbles on, the closer it gets to the end of the summer, you run that risk of losing him for nothing, because if no deal's agreed by the end of the summer, from January the 1st, he'll be able to discuss pre-contract terms with these clubs due to them being outside of the United Kingdom, meaning that Middlesbrough would effectively be losing the player for nothing unless they could cut some kind of cut price fee in the January transfer window. So definitely one to keep an eye on. I think the key bit of information there is probably that Middlesbrough won't sell him until a replacement's been signed, but there is a player who, by all accounts, is being lined up as a replacement for him, and one which seems to be gathering pace all the time, and that's a deal for Emmanuel Latte Lath. Coffee puns put to one side, please. So he's a 24-year-old striker. He plays for Italian club Atalanta, and he primarily plays as a striker, but he's also able to play off either flank as well. He spent last season on loan with Swiss side St. Gallen, and he scored 16 goals in 34 appearances. But he's got just 1 year left on his contract with Atalanta. And despite playing for the club in pre-season and scoring a few goals along the way, it seems like they're ready and willing to cash in on the other player, really, to bring some money in, and that's music to the ears of Middlesbrough. So in terms of updates on him, Italian journalist Gianluca Di Marzio reported that a deal was close for the player a couple of days ago, with the player having agreed a 4-year deal with the option of an additional year. While reports on Friday have suggested from Football Insider that Middlesbrough have now actually agreed a fee for the player as well. I don't know in terms of how much that fee will be, but if that's accurate, if they've agreed a fee and have agreed personal terms, that probably looks like a deal which is going to be happening as well over the next few days. And so, while it doesn't quite seem as imminent as the signing of Lukas Engel, he is a player who probably will come in, will strengthen that attacking area. Middlesbrough do need a striker anyway, but if Latte Lath does come into the club, then it could well pave the way for Chuba Akpom if it is starting to look increasingly likely that he's going to move on. So plenty of stuff going on with Middlesbrough in terms of transfers in and transfers out. A couple of other little side notes of things to watch out for. Ramsey, who was on loan with Middlesbrough last season, he is on the verge of signing for Premier League side Burnley. I think the fee for that is around about £14 million plus a buyback clause, which would mean that Aston Villa will be able to bring the player back to Villa Park, presumably if he does well at Turf Moor. So that's an interesting one. I think Middlesbrough fans had kind of hoped that they'd be able to tempt the midfielder back to the Championship next season, after showing what he could do in a handful of pretty impressive appearances. But clearly, those performances have been enough to tempt Vincent Kompany into a move, and so he'll be getting a crack at the Premier League. Another player who will be hoping to get a crack at the Premier League will be Cameron Archer, who is also at Aston Villa. Reports from The Athletic have been suggesting that they're actually willing to sell the player, similar to Ramsey, which is quite interesting considering just how highly he's rated at Aston Villa, but also within the England setup as well. He was obviously a key player for England under-21s during the European Championships over the course of the summer, and after his impressive performances for Middlesbrough last season, he's someone who's going to have no shortage of suitors. It remains to be seen whether Middlesbrough will be looking to do a deal for Cameron Archer this summer. Signing him on a permanent basis to me seems hugely ambitious, given just how highly he's rated. Aston Villa are also likely to be commanding quite a significant fee for him. Something which is likely to be way beyond Middlesbrough's budget for a striker, which makes a move to the Riverside seem very unlikely. I also think that, given that Ramsey's secured a move to the Premier League, I think there'll be a Premier League club that will be coming in for Cameron Archer. For me, any club outside of probably the top four will be tempted by a move for him, just given how young he is, his potential, the fact that he's got such a proven record in front of goal. He seems like a really big capture for someone this summer, and so while Middlesbrough will no doubt be making a few inquiries to see whether they can bring him back to Teesside, it does seem unlikely that a move to the Riverside will be coming off this summer for Cameron Archer. So yeah, a few little bits for you to get stuck into there. It's been a very busy few days on the transfer front for Middlesbrough. Obviously this weekend we've got a game against Coventry, which I'm not going to talk about here, but that's going to be an interesting one, given the fact that this will be the fourth time in 5 Championship match days, I think, that Middlesbrough have played Coventry, given that we played them 3 times at the end of last season, with an aggregate score of 1-0 to Coventry. So if you're putting on an accumulator, my suggestion would be less than 2.5 goals. Because it might be a tight one, particularly given that Victor Gyökeres has moved on to Sporting Lisbon, and Chuba Akpom, now looks increasingly likely to not be involved given his fitness problems and the fact that he looks like he's going to be heading out the door. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting match day. But yeah, I think in terms of the transfers, that's certainly something to keep an eye on over the weekend. And who knows, there might be some good news in terms of a confirmed new signing over the weekend. I hope that's been interesting for you. Just a little summary of what's been going on the transfer front. As I said, if you are enjoying what I'm doing in terms of YouTube, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. There'll be plenty more coming, and yeah, any feedback that you've got will be much appreciated. And any suggestions that you've got for videos moving forward as well, please do send them to me, because I will certainly take them on board. And yeah, if not, I will catch up with you in the next few days.